Okay, so you just finished the engagement part of this exploring weather and climate through art, and now we're going to build. We're going to build some background knowledge that would be really great for your students to have. And Kennedy Center, again, just a really outstanding job. So what we're going to do is kind of look into climate, all right? Climate and versus weather a little bit, right? So the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, a part of our U.S. government, defines weather as the mix of events that happen each day in our atmosphere. So that's our weather is our day to day. Whereas climate is what the weather is like over a long period of time in a specific area. So they've given a couple of really great links, and I'm going to show you a couple of those. And of course, I will have shared this on Blackboard as well. I pulled up a couple of different maps. Obviously, maps, we're digging into geography here, a really big part of social studies. And here we've got, I pulled up this one on drought. So this is from May 2021. You can see here we are in the state of Virginia. You can look here, it's abnormally dry right now. So the impacts of that, what they could be. But certainly out west, a lot of extreme drought happening. All right, so that's just one map that we can look at, and we think about the drought being obviously a lack of wet weather that we need for a healthy climate. As one. So they also, this is another one I looked at. It is the average monthly temperature. Right, so here I'm actually going to bring down the actual clip, hopefully, that you can see. Hopefully that is in your view now as well. And you can see this link gives a lot of reusable climate maps that we can look at. So you can look at monthly temperature, average monthly temperature outlook, but the average monthly temperature, we just looked at the drought, the probability of severe weather happening. And so if I were to click on this data snapshot of the monthly weather, you can see, obviously here's May 2021, the average temperature there in the peach colored, but I could look at the 30-year average, right? And look at versus, it goes all the way back to through each month and kind of the changes that we can see. And we can see through maximum temperature. Here, I'll take my thing right there. Minimum, right? And so you can see over some of these over time as well, the differences. So from 2000 down here to 2021 here, that we can see. And it's really interesting, I think, for many kids, once they learn, and again, or once we all learn a little bit more about what the keys of these maps are, you can really dig in deep about this idea of climate and how it's the impact that it has on our world, our landscapes, how we interact with each other, a lot of different things. All right, so I'm going to bring that back up here. Perfect. So we've engaged in those climate maps. And so next up for you guys is I would like for you to learn a little bit about some elements of art and design. So we're going to look at 3 specifically that are important for you as far as the background knowledge and learning, building the background knowledge for painting, right? And so artists, they look at a lot of different elements, shape being one of them. So shape can create a pattern when repeated, right? So we can think about that with our young elementary students. They can be organic or geometric, right? So they could be very fluid, or they could be like, this is a square. They could be positive or negative, right? So they can, it can be in the background, be a negative space or positive. It can be create that rhythm and repeated. So when we see repeated shapes, right? When we think about weather, maybe we see repeated shapes of raindrops. Creates emphasis when varied in size. So when you're beginning to think about your own painting that you're going to do, thinking about how big am I going to really go close in and make my shapes really big, or am I going to be far away and it will be more of a landscape? Creates balance. Shapes create balance when varied in placement. Okay. It can be objective or non-objective, right? So from that, it can be intentionally done or more random, distorted or extended, right? So shape, just the shape of the objects in our paintings. In the paintings that you just saw, think about those ones. Maybe even go back and look and be like, how is the shape help create the mood, the feelings, the overall aesthetics, right? How beautiful something is in these paintings. Next up is the next element we're going to talk about and learn about is texture. So texture can be real or simulated, right? It might just look like there's texture there. It can form a surface on top of your painting or work of art that you're working on. It can be natural. It can be man-made. It can achieve emphasis. I love that, right? It can really add some drama to a painting, and it can be affected by lighting conditions, right? The texture might be really different looking when lit from different angles, all right? So that's something to consider as well when you're thinking about your painting. The final one is probably the one we most relate to. It's the most common: color. So when you begin to design your paintings, thinking about the color, obviously our primary colors of red, yellow, and blue can be combined to make the spectrum of beauty that we see in all of our colors. They can be mixed for intensity and value. It can be really dark and strong, a deep green, or that green can be so pale that it's soft, right? And so there we go, expressing the moods and feelings. Can be warm colored or cool, right? So warmer colors here, cooler colors. When we think about our seasons, we typically think about our seasons being either warm or cool colors. And can give this illusion of distance, right? So something strongly colored might make it project either back or forth depending on the composition of your particular painting. So what I would like to do, what I like to do next, I hope that was helpful, right? When we think about our future paintings, is head over to Google, go back to that assigned painting you were given, write your name in. And so we just talked about climate, we talked about weather a little bit, and how are these shown through? How are climate and weather shown through your assigned paintings? And think about the shape, the texture, and the colors that are used in order to express this. So take a sentence or two or whatever you need to kind of describe how climate and weather are shown through your assigned painting from before, from the engagement section. All right? And then you can head on back. All right, so pause this. All right, welcome back. So next up is it just a little time? Do you have a favorite? I've made you kind of be towards one painting so far, describing it. But if you could choose another one right now, which would it be and why? Create a text box. You can do a screenshot of the one you like. Maybe even go in deep and be like, I connect to this, or the shape, the color, the texture of this, or the way weather is portrayed here, or this particular image makes me feel, right? So you've got this vocabulary now to use, and so using it when we were describing, right? And you can see this when we talk about arts integration here is our use of descriptive language, right? Favorites are usually a really an easy avenue for many people. Many people can at least say they have a favorite, or at least one they like the most. So that those English SOLs, those writing things are in that part. All right. And when you come back, we'll do apply. So pause. Okay, so we are back. And now it's time for you. It's time for you to apply what you've learned through expression of a painting. Good news. If you've never watercolored, which is what I've asked you to do, although if you have other paints that you're using, please obviously use what you have. I have a YouTube link. I will have also posted on Blackboard of me just kind of showing you a couple of things that I use as far as painting. So I also want to talk a little bit about texture and how you can get that in watercolor. It's through salt. All right, so if you have literally table salt, if you've got a little packet of that, even from McDonald's or what have you, you are welcome. You'll see how I demonstrate it to just add a little bit of texture to your paintings, and it really can add an element of a drama to a painting if you would like. So feel free to check out that YouTube. About what the topic of your painting, you have two choices. Pretty broad. I want you to paint an image of your favorite day based on the weather conditions of the season, right? So just in your mind, I'm sure you have a season that you love and the weather conditions, right? So an image of your favorite day based on the weather. Do you love a chilly winter day? Is it the beauty of spring and the colors? Is it fall when the leaves are crunching below your feet? Is it summer and it's sweating away, right? So an image of your favorite. And remember, this can be a landscape. It could be small. It could be just your foot, right? It could be whatever you wanted, an animal, what have you. Or you can paint a weather or landscape scene of a particular day based on your experience. If you had this amazing day at Niagara Falls, then paint that for us. Give us your interpretation of that. Of course, all along, visualizing the shapes, the colors, and textures of your scene, and making a mental note of them, of the choices that you made along the way. Maybe even you can write them down if you would like. Here's some criteria for success. Express your own unique style. I'll be bringing some things that I've done in the past with watercolors to your next class, but choose your colors to represent your scene associated with that day. Show mood with colors, represent that weather as well as the elements in the painting that are being affected by weather. Okay, right? So that might be the sidewalk or what have you. And again, color, shape, texture in your well-composed art piece. So I leave you now, pause this, and go enjoy. Maybe even put some nice background music if you've got a station. And really have this time for yourself, right? Part of art is the experience, right? So I'm going to ask you to reflect on that too. So take that time for yourself. So maybe you're here at the reflection part. Last part of this really lovely time that you've able to had to explore arts integration and explore how you might do this in your own classroom. I do want to make a note of something I had not said. Obviously, this might be a week-long, like a group of lessons over a week, right? This would not happen in one day. You know, maybe the engagement lasts several days, and then we build to the build section to the apply section, and then we get to this reflection section. I want you to keep it brief. I want you to only use 3 words that you would use to describe this experience, okay? I do want you to bring your art to the next class. You will not be required to share, but there will be an option there. We'll do some work on that in class, all right? Take good care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.